These people that are selling the products to us do not look like us. They don't have the same texture hair as us, and they quite frankly don't care.
As a consumer today, I still deal with challenges like shade matching, especially with brands that aren't as expensive. A lot of those more affordable brands just don't have depth in their ranges, and as a makeup artist, I work with so many different skin tones, so not having the right foundation, the right concealer, the right bronzer available is frustrating.
I'm Rheagan Crensaw. I'm a graduating senior chemical engineering major from Memphis, Tennessee. And my journey with beauty started when I was a little girl. I was always the type of kid that was on YouTube looking at DIY videos of how to make like lipsticks, mascaras, literally anything beauty, like masks, clay masks. I loved that. So as I started to get older and had to think about what I wanted to do for my actual career, I found cosmetic chemistry as an actual option. And so through there, I've done a lot of things in beauty. I've created my own fragrance before. I actually interned with Spelman College and their beauty feminist internship, which was actually where we learned how to formulate different cosmetics. I also learned about like viscosity, things like that, like thickness. You pretty much just learn all of the terms that you might hear in a classroom. I really learned exactly what they meant, and I got to see it firsthand when I was making each specific product. We want to be a cosmetic chemist that is forward thinking and that knows the consumer, and that also takes into consideration the things that Black women have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and keeping that in the back of my mind when I'm making products. And lately, I think a lot of brands are just being dishonest, and they use certain like gotcha words, knowing that if someone sees it, like they see clean beauty, so they might think it's like organic or something like that. And you can really slap clean beauty on anything. It really doesn't have any standards or guidelines. A lot of people are not really understanding the actual type of product that they're getting.
A lot of Black-owned beauty supplies around the country now, right? But I would say it's kind of hard. It's hard for us to grow because you have these other foreigners coming in, right? And they're bringing in multiple millions of dollars. What they're doing is they're reselling the product for wholesale prices, right? So they have these massive sales. You'll see online where they're selling Lotta Body for $3, Jam for $3. Like they're selling it for wholesale prices, sometimes cheaper than purchase it from a distributor. It's making it harder for smaller businesses, and a lot of times Black-owned businesses only have but so many resources, financial resources, right? So we're not able to really compete.
My name is Kadidja Dosso, and I'm the founder of Dosso Beauty. Initial idea of when I realized that something was wrong was when everybody's hair was falling out and they were coming to me to try to get me to fix it. Or when I was really digging into people, stopping, asking them about the routine, asking them about the products that they were using, asking them about where they got the products, I noticed that there was a gap in the market, right? These people that are selling the products to us do not look like us. They don't have the same texture hair as us, and they quite frankly don't care. And I could tell that because of the questions that I was asking that they weren't unable to answer. And even if they were able to answer them, they refused to. And so by me having that allergic reaction, it opened up my eyes to the fact that like there are millions of women around the world every single day that have synthetic braiding hair in their hair that's installed from the continent to America to around the world, and that this is a huge problem. Understanding that just because it says it's non-toxic doesn't mean it's clinically tested non-toxic. Understanding that also there's no regulation behind synthetic hair extensions within the US. There's literally no regulation. Anybody can get on Canva and create packaging and put it out there and say non-toxic, hyperallergenic, without having clinical trials or without having a stamp of approval, which that's now being worked on in legislation to make sure that we do get more regulation behind the beauty products that we're using. But there is none now. And so doing your research, not just reading, people's reviews, but really like taking a look at the companies that you're purchasing from, how transparent they are with you about their products and the ingredients that are on them, understanding and asking for the safety data sheets, a SDS sheet, right? And so really just understanding the companies that you are looking to invest in and that you're using on a daily basis, along with your braiders. Because as much as you want to buy Dosso Beauty products, if your braider refuses to use it, then you're back at square one. And so that's one of my missions with Dosso Beauty and with the Dosso Beauty Academy is really educating hairstylists, educating salons on like the harmful uses of these other braiding hair types and the other products that go along with it. Because braiding hair is just one part of the problem. It starts at the top. Even though I am not specifically manufacturing our braiding hair or any of our products, I am a part of the consumer research. I'm a part of the product development team. And so if we are not in the rooms to be product developers of the products that we are developing for us, then that's where it starts. Even before you can get to selling, even before you can get to shipping, to marketing, to online e-commerce, retail, salon, distribute. Before you get to that, like the beginning is the product development part. If you don't understand the products that you're developing, the chemicals that you're using, how they're impacting the human, right? And the hair and the long lasting effects of them, then that's the beginning of the problem before you can even start to sell the product. There's trade alignments and trade alliances amongst the Asian community, the white and Asian community that dominates the ownership within the beauty supply market. Think about this before, like made in China, made in Taiwan, like the trade secret agreement specifically for beauty supplies, right? We just stick to that industry and textured hair care. There have been trade agreements that have been put into place and set into place for centuries, decades, right? That are unbreakable at this point, right? They've created a system and an operating system. So it's really hard to penetrate something that has been in existence for decades, for generations of people at a time. They're not supposed to hurt. Braids are not supposed to be a killer of you. Braids are not supposed to induce a flare-up of PCOS.
My name's Gavin Runzel. I'm a senior account director here at The Pledge, but we are a social, racial justice org, primarily focused on advocating for Black-owned businesses in the U.S. and beyond. This really started with our founder, Aurora James, making a call to action in the wake of what was happening with the protests after George Floyd's death. And one of the first retailer businesses to answer the call was Sephora. And really the idea at the beginning of this was so much of the onus of like creating more equity in this country is put on the individuals and the consumers, when a lot of the systems that have created the inequity, they're very top down. So the idea came from, well, Black people are around 14% of our population. Let's round that up and make sure that shelf space looks like that. And that when you think about your brand assortment, are you having products that are from Black founders equal to the amount of people actually in our country? Our shelf should look like our actual makeup.
What we noticed as the BEC grew is that obviously there's a very wide range of businesses in the US, not only in terms of category, but in terms of scale. And the reality is that getting on a retailer shelf is not an end goal, or it shouldn't be thought of as such. And I think this is language that we're really adopting as of the last couple of years and trying to educate our BEC on more. Because, obviously with the best intentions, I think when the pledge was founded, the language that was used, the way it was kind of presented, made it seem, or it was interpreted by a lot of people in the community as getting on a shelf is like the end goal, when in reality, getting on a shelf is a major business decision that comes with a lot of risk. And so businesses need to be prepared to manage that new business endeavor and the risk associated with it, because you're essentially opening up an entirely new distribution channel.
Specifically with Black creators, I think we're re-owning and redefining what culture means for us in the beauty space and creator space. A lot of what we see on like a large scale with a lot of different brands, they try to capitalize off of Black culture, and now creators are like taking that power back. From a creator standpoint, I entered content creation at a very interesting time in my life because I was a college student. So being in a space where you have other creators who are of color, but also who identify as other nationalities and ethnicities, it's interesting to see how the intersectionality of different identities allows you to have access to different spaces and opportunities. So like all these different factors, but to see like how in the creator space, you can have someone that has the same amount of followers, the same demographic of followers, but someone may be a different color or they may align with different values, and brands are very intentional about who they partner with.
A business grant for Black female entrepreneurs no longer available after a year-long discrimination lawsuit. Today, the American Alliance for Equal Rights reached a settlement agreement with the Fearless Fund over the fund's Black-only Strivers Grant contest. The grant was challenged last August after claims that it violates the Civil Rights Act. As of today, the Fearless Fund has permanently closed the grant contest.
My name is Ariane Simone. Racism and sexism are at the height of the structural barriers. But even once you remove those barriers, there is still what I call proximity. Right now, 92% of the VC investors are white men. And 80% of white people have 100% white networks. So even if you were to take racism and sexism out of the equation, just due to proximity, people doing business with what's around them, people doing business with people who they know, there's still that. If we can diversify the investors, by default, we'll diversify the investments. Just creating more opportunities for people to do what we do, which is being a check cutter at the table, makes that difference in those opportunities. So when you have policies that reflect demographic equity, then there's fair funding by default. There's opportunities to different audiences. What I like about it, more than I do what people will call like a minority mandate. I mean, populations shift all the time. But when you say that the demographics of a population have to match demographics of the contracts, that means it can fluctuate. So more policies that protect the right to fund marginalized communities.
And so it's less about us honing and owning all of our beauty, right? Because that's not realistic and it's not sustainable. How do we defeat an empire that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, who again have perfected formulas, who have perfected and crafted these things? They have the infrastructure for it. They can get the supply chain quicker than we can. They can get it for cheaper than we can. It's less about holding ownership directly as the manufacturer. It's more so creating an alliance amongst each other to say, hey, we're working in the same space. I respect you, you respect me. These are the nuances. This is something that's plaguing our actual community and literally plaguing and killing our people. How do we work together to create a better formula? How do we work together to create a better user experience?
Black beauty means to me ancestry. Black beauty to me means innovation, creativity, storytelling, a time capsule. Black beauty is everything. At the root of beauty is blackness. Black beauty begins with us.